When do you finish? Do you know? Can I send you the address to pick up the mask? Okay, and then when you finish, you call me. I'll tell the girl she'll put for you. Okay. Okay, how you feel? Okay, I'll text you now. Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Fine, fine. Hi.
Good. We met a long time ago, right?
I guess so.
Yes. Okay. We're gonna wait for more people to join, and then we're gonna get started.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
You look amazing.
Thank you. Trying to have normalcy at the house, at least when I'm having a webinar.
I don't blame you.
Good. I'll be right back, okay?
Sure, take your time.
So Kenna, well, all the people joined. What is your business again? Remind me, if you have time now.
Yeah, sure. Magic Fitters. I own alteration and tailoring studio.
Oh wow! And how is business right now?
Closed.
Oh, hi George. That's not good. I know that's happening to a lot of people at this time.
Yes.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
No, it's the other way around. Thank you so much for setting this up. It's a great idea.
Thank you. How are your businesses doing? I think you work with multiple. So is it? If I recall correctly, you're a consultant, or your company has a portfolio of companies?
Yeah. I was going to jump into my headset, but it seems to be okay. So yeah, I work for a private equity firm, and we have several firms and so on. But I also own, or my wife owns, a small business, so I get to see different pictures, and it's quite interesting. So it's tough. It's quite tough.
Oh wow! No, I know that's the common trend right now.
Yeah.
A lot of hi Jerry, how are you?
Ramona, how are you?
Good. Hi Manuela.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. Adriana, welcome. And Jerry is you work or are a mentor for SCORE, right?
Correct.
And how is it going with all the businesses contacting you guys now for support?
Well, as you know, Ramona, you were a member of one of our roundtables, and which is a peer-to-peer group, and we're doing all of our sessions on Zoom, and we actually have set up a weekly kind of a hotline Zoom just for support to try to sort out all of the spurious information that's being floated out there in terms of what to do and how to do it. So we're sharing a lot of good ideas to get through this whole thing.
Okay.
And of course, we're just inundated with, like everybody else, with information and misinformation. So that's the process.
Yes. Hi, Sally.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Sally. Thank you for joining. Sally is also a CPA.
Yeah. Hi. And I actually see one of my clients is there, Rafael.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can't see you. You're
Okay.
in Italy. He got
Yeah.
stuck in Italy.
Yeah. Sorry.
I hope y'all are okay. There you are. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. I'm okay. I'm dealing with some family issue, but not related to the virus. But yeah, things are okay. I mean, we are dealing with the big stuff, but I'm happy that we have a really strong health system. And honestly, I mean, for everybody, I live in New York, and actually now maybe being here in Italy, I don't say that it's better, but I'm sure that our health system can struggle, but dealing with that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Rafael is a film producer.
No, very nice. Welcome, Rafaelo.
Thank you, Ramona, for having this.
Did I connect you to? I don't know if you sound familiar, Rafaelo. Maybe through
Jeff. Maybe
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, Ramona and Jeff and I all work together.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
She's the other part of our team.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So that's right. Yeah, that's how I got Rafaelo also through Jeff. So.
Yeah, and Manuela produces amazing videos.
Yeah.
I think I met Raffaello at one of the Freelancers Hub meetings, like probably a year ago.
Yeah. How are you, Manuela?
Very well. How are you?
Good. Good.
When did you go to Italy?
Hey, a month ago, I have some meeting, and then I got stuck here, but that's okay.
Yeah, because he's actually making a film in Italy.
Yeah, I mean, who knows
Interesting
now
title
when?
called Born Again. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary. Mary is provides IT support. I'm sure you're very busy these days.
Hi, Ramona. Yeah, I've been very busy helping clients get set up with their remote workspaces and things. So, yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks.
Hi, Tuesday. Thank you, Mary. Hi, Tuesday. Tuesday is a bookkeeper and problem solver for small businesses. Welcome. You're muted.
How are you?
Thank you. Hi, Grace. Grace is a client of mine. It's so nice to see you here.
Hi. Same.
And Lauren is on. Lauren, welcome. And I'm missing someone. Let me see. Can see the name.
Hi, glad to be here.
Stephanie, welcome. And Robert. Jennifer, so happy. And Rose, oh my gosh, it's nice to see you all, guys. I know most of you. That's the best part. So you guys are so on time. Let's give it just, I was gonna say 1 more minute, but it's 1:05. So let me give you some logistics. I'm going to try something at the end of this call that I haven't tried before. So I'm going to try to put you guys in breakout rooms for a few minutes in case you want to communicate with each other and connect, brainstorm. But if you want to leave, you can leave as soon as I finish the presentation. And the other thing is, if anyone wants to be connected to anyone after, you email me and I'm going to ask the other person if it's okay to connect them to you. So don't take it personally if someone doesn't agree, and you don't have to answer the request if you don't want, if you feel bad, you know. let's say I say, Jennifer would like to connect with you, George. George, you can ignore my email. Just, I won't take it personally. And then if you do want to be connected, I'll pass it on. Sounds good?
That's a great idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is all about connections also. And today it's great that we are doing this as an interactive session, I think, because everyone, at least me, I see a lot of this happening now, feels like more connected when I can actually speak during the session. We are going to try to keep it as organized as possible. So if everyone's talking over each other, we might have to take turns, and I don't know yet how we're going to figure that out, but we will see how it goes. And everyone will have a chance to speak on the mic. If you prefer to put something on the chat, I will check every now and then, just in case anyone is more comfortable just putting it on the chat. And at the end, if you have any questions that are not answered here, email me, send me private messages on LinkedIn, at Facebook, whatever you have are connected with me. Just reach out and I will be happy to get back to you. Hi, Esther. Rosalba, Christina. Wow, I have so many. Daniel, welcome everyone. So I thought about putting this together because, of course, this is something that we deal with every day. Like, what, my revenue is not enough to cover my expenses. I'm not taking enough home. But during these times, it's even more critical that we figure out the best way to sustain our businesses with the limited resources that some of us will have over the next few months. And one of the ways we will survive, I don't like to say surviving, but one of the ways we'll survive is by being as lean as possible during these times without hurting the business, because we do want to have a business once this is all behind us, right? I don't know if I'm not ready to quit, so we'll keep going and we'll get through this, and we'll be better off at the end, I'm sure. So once I go through the presentation, if you have a question on any of the points that I covered, you can, I think there is a way somewhere here where you can raise your hand. Let's see. Let's see, participants. So there is a place on next to your name, I believe, or next to your, I can see the view on your end, but there is a place where you can raise your hand to ask a question, and I'll be able to see it here. Yep, someone raised their hand. You can test it and remove it once you're done, so I don't think you're waiting for an answer from me. But I'll keep it up here so I can see if anyone wants to speak. And once you raise your hand, I will give you the go-ahead to speak, and then you can unmute yourself and mute yourself back. Hi, JC.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
JC is an amazing insurance broker. She's like a real entrepreneur in the insurance business. Highly recommend her. So let me know if you need help in that space, and I'll connect you guys.
Thank you.
My question is, I see you're recording the meeting. Will you share the link with us, or do we need to take notes?
Oh, you can actually have a copy of it, yes, but we're not going to publish it anywhere, so keep it, yes.
For us, yes.
Yes, for yourselves. I will say that when I email it to you. This is whatever I post on LinkedIn. If I post anything, it might be a little excerpt from it, and only of me. I won't be posting you guys on any social media. All right, if everyone can mute themselves, please do, and then I will start sharing my screen. Let me get my PowerPoint first. Are you guys able to see my screen yet?
Not yet.
Not
No.
yet.
No, not yet.
Give me 1 second, please.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, let's see.
It's coming. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Ramona, I think you're muted.
Yes, thank you. So today we're going to focus on how we can reduce our expenses, our costs during these times of crisis, and make those decisions that we have to, in some cases, in a way that it doesn't hurt our businesses in the long term, and how to identify costs to reduce and expenses to reduce. Because it's not, my theory on this is that it's not something that you do as a one-off. It's not a good idea to just say, I am going to give up my office, I'm going to give up my staff during these times without taking a comprehensive look at everything that's happening in your business and what the end goal is once all of this is behind us. So the first question I would say, I'll ask, before I move on, this is very important. I know you all know me, but let's talk a little bit more about me. So instead of me putting a large bio about me, I just wanted to share a few things that I believe in. So I'm big on community, building communities, and I believe that when we work together, when we do things together, the results are much better. So you guys will see me connecting people, networking a lot, sharing, and that's who we are and that's who I am. And I just wanted to remind you of that. We're here to help you. If you need to talk about kids or business, whatever it is, reach out. Numbers don't lie. So if you want to understand where you are with any situation financially for yourself or the business, run the numbers, and the numbers will tell you a lot. And if you're doing something that you are not enjoying, let's figure out why that is and shift, pivot, refocus until we are really in love with what we do. Because if we're doing something that we don't enjoy, the result is not going to be close to what we expect. So that's a little bit about me. And my bio you can read on LinkedIn or other sources. So where do you get started? How do you, when this happened, when you saw that your revenues were decreasing, and I hope this is not a situation for anyone here, but if it is, when you saw that clients were canceling or that business wasn't coming in, and you find yourself in a situation where you had to cut down, how do you get started? I recommend thinking about what resources do you have in your business that are key to staying in business. And this could be staff. This can be the nice office that you have downtown where your clients need to see you because you are a PR company, and your location and the way your office looks matters to business development. This can be relationships that you have with partners where you have to give commissions and you owe them some commissions for work that they referred to you previously. So whatever it is that is key to your business, identify those, make a list of those resources. And then as you go through the process of reducing expenses, you keep these in mind and prioritize on how you cut down and how you keep some of those. Let me make sure I have my little hand up for you guys if you have questions. And the next thing, once you identify those resources that you want to keep, how do we maintain them? How do we keep them during these next few months? So for example, if one of your resources, let me use myself as an example. My key resources right now start with my employees, my staff, my team members. It took me months to find them. And it took me months to train them. And it took me months to retain them. So I don't want to lose them. So what do I need to do to make sure that as we go through this crisis, I can keep them? Even if not at the same level as before, but at some capacity that will retain them with the company. And when things get better, they will still be there. We don't want to lose key staff that are so important to our business that if we had to replace them once this is all behind us, it will cost us a lot more than what we're saving now. Now, this is not always going to be easy. There have been situations where people had to let go of staff right away, and that, unfortunately, that might happen. And even when that happens, it would be good if we could end it in a way that once you're ready, you can rehire them and they will come back to you. And this will depend on how loyal you were to them when things were good, and also what else is out there for them once this is all behind us. But there might be other resources that are important to, like I mentioned, the office is one. It could be technology. You might have a very expensive application or system that you use, and that is something that is costly, but it took you so much to implement it and to train that it's hard to put it on hold or downsize it without impacting the long-term performance of the business. And I can see, hold on a second, let me try to find you guys so I can see if you have any questions here. If you can, well, I figured this out, unmute yourself if you have a question and just say Ramona or have a question or anything that you want to say. I'll pause for a second. Any questions? Good. Okay. The next question we want to ask ourselves is, where do we envision our business after all this is over? Some people might be going through this stage as trying to figure out what life is going to look like after. And in some cases, I've heard that some of us are saying, I have worked so hard and I haven't lived my life the way that I wanted to, and I haven't spent enough time with my family, and I will slow down when this is over. Others are saying, I'm going to work even harder because next time this is not going to happen again. But if this were to be the case again, I want to have enough resources to sustain my business, right? I want to save more. I want to plan better for next time. So it's important to know where we want to be after this. And the reason for that is that if you're going to slow down after, then the resources that you're going to need at that point will be different from what they are today, or from the situation in which you are doubling up on efforts to grow, on efforts to service, and efforts to hire and to perform. So there's a totally different approach to each one of them. So it's important to understand where we want to be, and then plan according to that. Any questions? Okay. And I didn't say this before, but I will go through a cash flow analysis tool that I put together, or a spreadsheet that I put together, that is going to help you figure out where you start cutting costs and how you make those decisions and how to calculate what your cash needs are. One thing I want to remind everyone of and about is that planning and cash flow management need to be ongoing activities. This is not something that we're doing this now because we are going through these times, hard times, but it's important that we, at least from this, we learn that this is something that should just be a day-to-day activity, that we are planning for the future regardless of what the future might bring, that we're managing our cash flow in the best possible way. And I have a lot of clients, and I know there are different scenarios, different situations for each one. Some of us might just spend more than others. Some might not spend as much. So there's all different types of personalities and situations, and everyone's situation is different, and there is a reason for the way we do things. But just if we run a business, we should focus on managing it as lean as possible while still driving results and optimizing the performance of the business. In some cases, you will need to invest more than we want to, but there should be a goal behind that. And as long as it's well planned, we can afford it, the business can afford it, we are separating funds for different purposes. That is the key. It's just to incorporate those activities on everything that we do and make conscious decisions, financial decisions for our business. Any questions?
I have a question. Is there a sort of a guideline for every business in terms of allocations from the 100 income, what to allocate for profit, what for investment, what for saving, or it changes based on the business?
And are you referring, Manuela, to at the business level, or are you including the personal level too in there?
Let's say a small business, like with 5 employees. So a business with employees.
Yes, so there are some guidelines by industry, which there are a lot of resources to where you can research this, but let me tell you how it works normally. There are guidelines in terms of the percentage that you expect to see for a specific expense within your industry. So your industry might have, for example, an expense of, let's say, insurance, where insurance, we might want it to be 1% of our total revenue, or your gross margin, which is derived by your revenue minus your cost of goods sold. There are standards by industries, and it's going to vary between sizes. But you want, let's say in fashion, the gross margin is 35%. You want to be within that. As a small business, you want to keep your costs down enough and your revenue high enough so that you can meet that margin. And there are people that say that for marketing, you should keep your marketing at 1% of your revenue. So understanding these guidelines will help you figure out how you can invest the funds. In terms of investing large quantities in large amounts in new projects, we should make profitability analysis on that specific project. So if you're starting to invest on, let's say, you want to do different videos. Let's say you want to now market to the healthcare industry, and you have to invest in marketing to them. It's important to understand what is the potential profit that you're gonna get from that additional investment before you start putting the money in there. So these are some of the guidelines that I would recommend. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? You can just speak up because I don't see the hands. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is Sally. For the industry averages, I don't know the link, but there is a place online that one can go and get the industry averages for their industry. I highly recommend that all business owners do that so that you are aware of, at least for the profitability analysis that Ramona spoke of, that you're aware of what is expected in your industry. And sometimes if you just could talk to somebody possibly that's been in the industry for a while, and they might have that information or know where to send you. But that is really an important thing to think about as you go forward and understand what's expected in your industry, as well as the general guidelines like Ramona mentioned for insurance or for marketing. I'm sure there are resources on the internet that provide that type of thing. Very important question.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
Let's see who else joined recently. We have a lot of participants here. Jerry, Nancy. Hi, ladies. I saw Jerry before, but Nancy just now. Great. So let's talk now about my cash flow analysis spreadsheet that I put together. So I need to go and grab that so we can walk through it. So give me 1 second while I get that, okay? Are you all seeing that?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes. Okay, great. So this spreadsheet, raise your hands, anyone who thinks this is that you are no. I don't know who needs this, but would you be interested in understanding how to use something like this? Raise your hands. Great.
Yes.
Great, okay. So I put together this cash flow analysis from the perspective of a cash basis business owner. So a lot of us as business owners live on how much money came in versus how much do I have to spend. So the idea of accrued expenses, on billed revenue, on billed revenue not received, a lot of times when we are on our day-to-day, that's irrelevant, except that as we go through this, I will ask you to keep in mind what you have billed to your clients that you haven't received payment for, because we want to get those as soon as possible to incorporate them into this spreadsheet. The first section here is, I started with this to show you how you can use the information that you already have to then project for the next few months. So I downloaded this from a QuickBooks company. If you're not using QuickBooks, you can create this in Excel. Now you can go back and do this using your bank statements, putting together a summary of all your revenues and expenses by month, and something that will look close to this. And I will share this with all of you today. So this company it's a design company. So it has design revenue and landscaping services revenue. It has some cost of goods sold amounts here, which is direct labor. So when you have to hire a contractor to go out and do the job, that will be here. It has materials. So if you are doing landscaping and you need to buy the plants that you're going to deliver to your clients, please mute yourself.
I'm sorry, I was going to tell you, the way that the document is set up, it talks about the needs and concerns of children, as well as the parents, if there's any. Then we talk about the strength of everybody in the family. So you, Dad,
Ramona, you can click on participants and mute everyone.
I think she's trying to ask us a question. I can't hear her.
You can mute her.
Okay, I truly appreciate that, because the mom
Okay, hold on.
treated me like a single
Click on participants and hit mute all.
So we are doing a whole family, because essentially, as I told you before, you guys are
yeah, it's a person whose last name is Moore.
And you have our idea of
SHANEQUA.
I got it. Thank you. All right, so this business has design income and landscaping income, and then cost of goods sold. These are the costs that are directly related to your services or your product. So these are the costs that, as you deliver a service, you cannot avoid incurring. So if you need to buy plants for a landscaping customer, if you need to hire a contractor to go do the work, those will go here. And then below that, we have other salaries, like if you have an office admin or you have an assistant that will go here. We have the payroll taxes. This includes payroll taxes for everyone, marketing, rent, legal and professional fees, meals that you incur for your employees, meeting with clients, other office expenses, software, utilities, and phone. So I kept this simple. And these expenses are common to most businesses. The amounts I decided just based on a random customer average. So for example, give me one guy asking my family to keep it down. So payroll, marketing, you might or might not have this. You can, some of us have a marketing intern that does this type of work for us. Some use an account, use a marketing person, outsourced marketing person to do marketing for us. You have your rent and so on. So these numbers are going to be different for every business, most business owners, but if you understand what they are for you, then that'll help you plan for the future. When I send you the spreadsheet, you can actually use this one to create your own if you don't have one. You just replace the names here, consulting services or whatever, and then update your numbers in there. So let's pretend this was our actual situation over the last few months. Then how do you project now that we are where we are? How do we plan? How do we analyze these numbers how do we make changes to these numbers based on what's happening? So I took the liberty of making some assumptions here to adjust these numbers. For example, and before I go on, let me just tell you something. So again, this is on a cash basis. So the assumption is that this figures here is what you received from your customer each one of those months. And then the expenses below are expenses that you actually paid during those months. So when I looked at March, I reduced my projected revenue for March only by 80%. When the pandemic hit, we were still providing services and we're still billing our clients. So I don't expect that revenue is going to decrease suddenly during the month of March, because you have a combination of items that you had built in February that we are collecting in March, collecting payments for in March, and then services that you provided at the beginning of the month. So I just reduced March revenue by 20%. But then the next month, and you can see the formulas here. Next month, I'm reducing my revenue by 30% from the prior month. These are just assumptions. You can reduce this by 50%, whatever you think fits your business. Then for this business, I'm saying, okay, once all this is over, because we are landscaping, I'm assuming everyone is going to want to have their homes and their businesses and everything that they live in redecorated and redesigned and landscaping back to normal, right? So that's why I increased my revenue in June, July. The expenses and the cost of goods sold are a product of your revenues in some cases, in the case of cost of goods sold. So for example, my labor in March, I didn't decrease it significantly. I actually left it the same, because if some of this labor was staff members that you have, we are not going to, most likely you are going to have this expense for the full month of March. So I kept it the same as February. In April, I reduced it by 10%. So what I'm assuming here is that not that you're going to let go of your staff necessarily, but that maybe they're not working overtime and they're not working as many hours. And because some of these team members could be full-time employees, and if you're not letting them go right away, that's going to impact the expenses will continue to be the same for a little bit. And then at some point you might see a drop because you definitely had to cut down their hours by 20%, 40%. So all of these numbers here are assumptions. Again, the materials I'm making as a percentage of revenue. So I'm keeping that the same. So if your materials are usually 20% of your revenue, there is not going to be a change there, because as you deliver these services, you'll have most likely the same expenses. Any questions so far? And I'm going to move to expenses in operating expenses, but I'll let you ask questions in case any of this is not clear. I know it's a spreadsheet and some of us are not used to using them, but I pause and I let you ask questions. We cannot hear you. If you're trying to talk to us. Okay, Sally, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something?
No, I actually raised it before, so thank you. Yeah, I guess I need to put it down though. Sorry. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. If anyone was trying to ask a question, please, you can start. But if it don't sound clear, I will ask you to pause, and then we can figure out the sound.
Maybe what we can do for those who can't, whom we can't hear and so on, they can send the question on the chat, and then you can relate it.
Let me see if we have any questions on the chat that I might have missed.
Ramona, Nancy Vargas here. I have a question.
Oh, hi, Nancy. Yes.
How are you? So we're in the services, right, industry. We're in ground transportation. So if I wanted to maneuver some of these categories specific to my industry, and let's say that I needed to add a line, can I do that? Because I've done it in other spreadsheets and I mess it all up.
Oh, yeah. So yes, you can definitely do that. So you can either rename one of the categories if you don't need it, or if you just click on, I suggest that when you add a row, so that you don't modify the formula, that you do it between two of the existing rows. So if you click anywhere here, and then you go to insert right here, this will be like gas, right? And then you put the numbers here.
Yeah.
Let's say I put 100,000, so you can see below. This is going to be now included here automatically.
Okay.
What is not going to be included is over here, right? So this formula is not going to be created. And what you can do there is just go to the one above and drag it. Or you can copy and paste. So if you copy this one below and paste it.
Okay, that's what I would normally do. But I like the little shortcut you just did.
Oh, yes, over here. Yes.
Okay. So does it affect the other side, the projected side?
So you have to recreate, you have to create this formula, enter data here, which you can do manually. So you can say, oh, this month I'm only going to spend 80,000. So the formulas down are going to be capturing that, but the formula here you have to create. So the formulas across you have to do.
Okay, so how do I do the formula? Do I just pick it up from the top?
Yes.
And just copy and paste,
exactly.
And then just plug in my numbers?
Yes.
Okay. So the key thing is to go in between the two and press insert.
Yes.
And then just kind of do my numbers that I need to do there.
Yes, and then copy the formulas. In the columns, you're going to have to copy the formulas down or up.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
great.
Thank you so much. That's really very helpful because I've messed up spreadsheets in the past.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, so for the operating expenses, which are this group here, remember how I was talking about key resources and who you can, what you can survive without? This is where you're going to start doing that. So if you had someone in the office as an assistant, and you only need her 3 times a week, you don't want to lose her, you want to keep her. So how do we keep her? Maybe she works part-time now and applies for the unemployment, because now New York is offering a share pay program where if employees are reducing their hours because of the situation, they can also potentially claim unemployment while you pay them only on a part-time basis. You might be able to reduce their pay, their salaries, talking to them and asking them to take a pay cut if this is something that they can afford to do. Or in some cases, there might not be a choice. Or you can, if the employees can afford this, you might be able to defer payment for a portion of it. So you keep them on a regular salary, but because you really need them and you want to keep them, but have them only take 80% and you make up the other 20 when things get really better. The same thing with marketing. Now we might, instead of using an outsourced marketing person, maybe we just get an intern, or we decide to do it ourselves. So basically you just go down and you reduce this to whatever amount you want. You can do 0 if you don't want to have a if you don't need a marketing person right now. And you do that down for each expense until you can project your net income, which is here. So we went from 260,000 the last 6 months to 162,000 when I made my adjustments. So these are the two numbers that we're comparing. That's a decrease of 18%. So we might, is that 18%? No, that's something else. The decrease is over here, sorry. That's a decrease of 25%. And I made it 25 on purpose because this is a number that we hear a lot for, like, applying to grants. If your revenues went down by 25%, you qualify for this or that. And that's at the revenue level. You know, I kept both the same, but it's a 25% decrease in profit. You will notice that this spreadsheet doesn't account for the owner's salaries. So nowhere in here did I include owner's salary. And the reason for that is that most business owners, solo owners, are not, their salaries are not shown here. They just take distributions and they go on the balance sheet. So the idea is that your distributions are actually coming from this number down here. And I'll show you when we do the cash, when we go to the cash needs tab, I'll show you how then we take that into account when we're calculating how much cash we need to have. So right now it looks like my revenue, my net profit for April went down a lot. In May it's almost nothing, the profits. And remember that this is a product of cash received. So what you built in March and what you built in April may be collected in May. So you need to really sit down and estimate what is the cash that you're going to be getting each one of these months. If you are collecting from your customers at the beginning of the month, then this is easier. But if you are not, you have to, in addition to take into account your revenues for each month, what you're going to be producing in revenue, you also have to take into account what you're actually collecting. So it's a product of those two factors. I created percentages here. So Manuela, this is to the question that you were asking before. These formulas here calculate what percentage, what is the percentage of each one of these expenses over revenue. So for example, payroll taxes appear to be 5% of your revenue. Rent comes out to 5% of your revenue. This is not based on industry standards. I didn't research that for this particular company. These are just examples. Yeah. Look how I decreased meals a lot here, because right now we are not incurring meal expenses. And this is something that for the business, this is something that I want you to keep in mind too, is that there are some expenses that were reduced automatically by us moving into the office. So there is transportation costs that you're not incurring. There is printing maybe, there is meals. So that when we are doing this analysis, let's keep in mind that our revenue is going down. We are forced to reduce some costs, but also there are costs that were reduced by default. And in some cases, that's going to be insignificant, but every little counts, right? So it's good to think about that too, like the cost that we're not incurring at the moment. I'm going to move to the other spreadsheet, but I want to see if anyone has any questions.
There's a question in the
Yes.
chat.
Sally, is that you? Oh, in the chat. Okay. I can't see my chat.
Okay, Ramona, when you get a minute, I have a question.
Who is that, JC?
Yeah, me.
Okay, start your question while I get to the chat.
Okay, I think it's not a question. I guess it's more like a statement, because this, it's like you said, there's certain things that will definitely go down. Electricity will go down. Other minor expenses in the office might go down, like transportation, meals, but there's other expenses that I think is so difficult to reduce, because there's some things that you can, like, for example, you have an office, right? You can't get rid of the office today. What if you have a 3-year lease, right? But also, a lot of people have been doing it, and it's tough. Even for myself, I've been like doing this whole week. Like, should I let go of the staff? But it's like you said, what is going to happen when you're back on your feet then? I think you have to just find out what is, I guess, I don't know if that's a good idea. That's why I'm asking you. I think some expenses probably ask for, like, your rent, your landlord, because a lot of people have an extension to see if you can have an extension of payments to make the payment later. Try to see what you can put on a credit card and then send at least a minimum payment so you're not in default. But I think it's try to keep things until you can, until a certain point, obviously. Because, like, for my business, I don't have a steady income. I don't know what I'm going to receive exactly every 2 weeks, because it's based on percentage. But still, you can sit down and see how much is your monthly expenses. You know how much you paying every month for rent, approximately for light and internet and other expenses. But I guess it's just try to, I think, deviate the money that you currently have to the things that are important. And I think some key staff, and more if you're small business owners, is not the best idea. I'm sorry. It's not the best for you just to cut them out, because then you need them when you're back on track, or probably you're creating more stress and you need to help your clients.
Yes, JC, thank you. Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning where I said, like, for me, I don't know if you heard, my staff it has cost me so much to get them and to hire and to retain them. So I do know I'm going to hold on to them as long as I can, right? And hopefully through all of this. So yes, I agree with that point. And in some cases, it's really it's going to be harder for some businesses owners to keep their staff. But I agree that at the end of all of this, if we cut down certain resources, if we don't figure out how to retain them, it's going to be more costly to start all over again. And I didn't mention this before, but the city is offering payroll grants for employees that have between 1 and 4 employees. It's only for employers, only salaries on payroll qualify. So if you're a single business owner and you're doing, you're taking distributions, that does not count. If you're an S-Corp owner and you're on payroll, your payroll counts towards that grant. And also the city is offering, offering 0% loans up to 75,000. So, let's take advantage of all those resources to try to keep those staff members that we really want to or need to keep.
Right, and Ramona, this is Sally again. Another thing too is the SBA is offering what they call economic disaster loans. So that's another resource that business owners have to go to, as well as the city ones that you mentioned, and as well as the payroll grants that you mentioned. There are a ton of resources out there, and it's just a question of wading through everything to find them. But also too, the idea that the one person spoke of, try to renegotiate your rent. These are the kinds of things that are being suggested to do. if you have some kind of loans, like a student loan, try to get the payment deferred. As a matter of fact, some of the new legislation that's come out around this virus, they're on number 3 now. I've lost track of what the second one was. But one of the things in there is that relates to some of these student, like a student loan, that they have to allow you to defer. So people should like go to the internet and look for these resources that are coming out. There are announcements all the time. So you should be able to, you know, like find where you need to go to learn about the thing. And of course, everybody probably knows about the unemployment or the unemployment benefits, but that probably almost a last resort, because the headlines today said over 3 million people have already applied. So, you know, using some of these other resources might be the route to go.
Can I
or
jump
at
in,
least
Ramona?
finding out about them.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much.
Jerry Weinstein here. A couple of comments, and we do the same thing at SCORE, and we have a number of clients just like yourselves and others and many others and so on and so forth. I think there are 2 takeaways that Ramona has put here, and I think they're really important. It's not only a cash flow statement, it's to help you manage your cash flow. And Sally just hit on that, is there's nothing that's sacred that you can't ask for. You can ask to pay your bill late. You can ask to pay your rent late. They can say no, kind of silly, but you know, we're all in this together. And if you don't ask, you're not going to get any satisfaction. So the question is how you manage it. Can you get paid earlier? Well, can you get paid at early? Well, everybody's in the same boat. So, but you have to ask, and that's managing the cash flow. And sometimes it is just doing without, but that, you know, those are the choices you have to make. And that's the decision-making process that you do to survive. The other part, of course, is, and everybody's situation is different, is what do you have in the bank? You know, what is your basic underlying asset capability that can weather the storm, that you can afford to keep people without being subsidized by the government, et cetera, and so forth. Again, those are very individual decisions, but it's kind of like the virus. You know, you have people dying from the virus with underlying medical conditions. You're going to find people going out of business because of underlying financial conditions.
Right.
So the financial health really determines an awful lot of your decision-making process. Third and last point, just another resource, and it's a very complicated matter today with the amount of information. If you go on to New York City SCORE website, there is, and we are attempting to keep it updated on a daily basis, but we're trying to vet them so that we understand it and that it's legitimate type of situation and that the guidelines are reasonably clear. We've heard war stories where somebody's been on the phone with SBA for 12 hours and they finally get through and the guy says, I'm not sure yet, we haven't set our rules up yet. Don't be shocked if that happens because it's out there. Same thing with your local banks. If you have a banker, the first thing you should be talking to is your local banker. They're working from home. You got to talk to them.
Yes.
You've got to be in their conscience that you are a client, you're a customer, you need some additional help, and don't worry about your credit score. That's all going to be squared away also. So you got to ask for the order, as they say in sales, and you got to ask for the accommodation, as they say in running a business from a financial perspective. You guys are all terrific. You all have great businesses. You all have great, I hate that word great. I'm sure you're really good at what you do. Just do better because this is business as unusual. It's not business.
Thank you, Jerry. And Jerry is a mentor at SCORE. He's a great resource and he runs a lot of programs there. Now or after, maybe consider joining some of the roundtables that Jerry runs at SCORE.
We'd be glad to help wherever we can. That's our job.
Thank you. Jerry Quinn, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks, Ramona. I just wanted to mention that Facebook is coming out with some loans under grants, and they won't be the only ones because some of these bigger companies, this is a chance to kind of get your eyeballs and get some good press and some good feelings themselves in this marketplace. So, be on the watch out for what Facebook and other larger companies are offering to small businesses. And I did want to mention that there's another resource. I'm running a phone call at 3 o'clock every day, which is business owners helping business owners with talking people down from the ledge after firing employees, or getting ideas about how to do strategic flexibility, like how do you vary your business model. I like to work on their SWOT analysis so they can say, how can I use my strengths with all these newer opportunities that are opening up that I have never before, but what can I do to be flexible to address new things, since some of the old things are no longer paying off. And so join the 3 o'clock call. You don't have to sign up. I can put the Zoom thing in the chat, and hopefully you can join at 3 o'clock any weekday, any week.
Thank you, Jerry. Please post the link on the chat. Something important that as Jerry Weinstein was speaking before that I thought of is you can be on the opposite. You might be on the opposite side where someone is asking you to defer payment. If you have a client that is struggling, but you want to keep them because they're good clients, think about whether you can help them out while they go through the situation, and that might come up also. I want to go through the cash needs analysis, which is I find this very straightforward. I put this together for the smaller business owners. So Jerry mentioned before that you have to think about your cash. How much cash do you have in the bank today? So this number right here is how much is in the bank account today for the business. Then the next number is how much revenue, how much profit net is coming in March. This is cash basis, remember. So this is what I have available for the month of March. Then let's talk about reserves. So this is something that for some has been a new, appears to be a new concept, but this is so important. This is having, and Jerry mentioned this before, this is having reserves in the bank or cushion to cover the basic operating expenses of your business during the time when revenues are low. I recommend 6 months. I've seen other professionals recommend 3 months. I think 6 months would be ideal. But if you do use 3 months as the basis, I calculated three months of operating expenses plus labor that is directly related to your service. It's a cost of, it's that labor that we saw before here. Let me show you this one here. If you have staff that is on payroll, they're gonna be on payroll, right? Regardless of whether they're working or not on the client. So that's why this calculation here includes them. Now, if there are contractors, I'm gonna use a different color. If there are contractors, then you can adjust this down and say, my contractors only work when I need them. So this is linked to the other tab, but it's really just 3 months of operating expenses plus the labor in the cost of goods sold. Then that's my reserve. Then your draws. So if you want to take out $10,000 every month, you put that number here. And then don't forget your taxes. You have to reserve for taxes because you're not paying them monthly, but you are going to have to pay them. So building up that reserve is very important. And then I have a cushion here of another $20,000 for some extraordinary item that happens. You have a litigation from the Department of Labor and you have a penalty of $10,000. How are you going to cover that? Or someone offers you a great project and you need to invest $10,000 in it. So that's what that would be. So when I add this up, it looks like during the month of March, I should have $174,000 available from my beginning cash plus net income plus other sources. Ideally, this number would be positive, which would mean that your cash in the bank plus your net income covers all your cash needs. In this case, I showed a negative on purpose. You can play around with these numbers to make this positive. You can say, I don't need a reserve for extraordinary items. And if you make that 0, then you're good. If you had $120,000 in the bank. But I made a negative on purpose. Then how do I cover this? How do I get, and each month is the same. This month in April, I start with my last month's cash and then add in my net income. And then it's gonna be 160 that I have in, and so on. How do I get, what is the additional cash that we need? Where is it coming from? So this is where we don't want to get into debt, but this is where those grants that you're gonna apply for, the 0% loan from the city, if you get the payroll grant, your line of credit, right? So everyone, we recommend that every business owners has a line of credit open and available for them to cover for some of the cash needs when business is not producing enough. I'll wait for the siren to go. So this should be emergency last resources, and now we're gonna need some of that, right? So during these times, we're gonna need a line of credit. We might need that loan from SBA. We might need loans from family members, and so on. So this is very straightforward, very basic. Instead of giving you the decrease in accounts receivables and payables, this is if you manage your income statement on a cash basis, keeping into account revenue that you're delivering, services that you're delivering in a given month, but also how much of that cash is coming in that month, how much are you collecting from last month. If you run your P&L on a cash basis and you update it in the way I showed you before, this tab will link to that. And it might help you, it should help you forecast where you are with your cash at any given month. I'll stop for questions. George, since you haven't gone. George, you have a question? Or Jerry?
Ramona.
There we go.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just very quick. So, look, it's a great model you have built. What I like what you were showing before is that we're able to see our sales, our costs, and our expenses, right? Maybe those are the 3 ways to think about it. And I think we can get this information from our bank statements, right? If we don't have all the detailed information, we can just look and see, okay, at the end of each month, how much money do we have left? And that will help us, right? How much money is coming in and coming out. Now, I know that some of us mentioned it, but not in detail. In my opinion, it may not be bad for some of our colleagues to apply for unemployment because although, many people have applied and so on, the system is working. And I tried myself to make sure that the claim that I'm making is correct. And now with this additional $600 per month, they will have $2,400 plus, the $500. So they could get roughly most of their income so that the businesses can survive and so on. Also, the plan that is out there, the bill, will provide help not only for payroll, if we keep all our employees employed and so on, but also for rent. So there are a number of things in this bill that will help with the main expenses. I think what we need to think is how do we get the revenue back, right? Because even if we're able to cover the expenses, but we don't have revenue, that will be the problem. And what I hear from other businesses is that the drop is much higher than 25. Many of them are telling me that the drop is 90%. I don't know if that's the same for some of my other, for the other participants. How much is the drop in revenue for you all? Is it 50%, 70%, 25%? Have you seen any numbers?
¿Lo tenemos que hacer aquí o lo podemos hacer de allá? Are you asking us or?
To the other people.
Oh, okay, for me, and I don't know if Sally is in the same situation, but because we are in the season that we are with taxes, and my revenue still hasn't been impacted. But yes, others, please share if you want to.
Ramona, I have a question. This spreadsheet that you have, you said you created it from QuickBooks. Did the projected part, is that part of the QuickBooks creation as well?
Oh no, sorry, that's a good point, Sarah. No, I add as Sally. I added the projections myself, and I created the cash analysis tab from scratch. And to George, to your point, George, the line that you were talking about that you said that you like to see is really a breakdown of this line. So it's a breakdown of the net income. We can easily put in here what makes up the net income: gross sales, cost of goods sold, operating expenses. So this was designed for someone who is not who doesn't adore spreadsheets and just wants to yes, but this can be easily expanded into a lot of more other scenarios.
I'd like to answer George's question about about the decreases in business that I've seen from my business. George, I run a small creative agency where we work on a lot of experiential activations, and being that experiential activations or social marketing requires groups of people, it's obviously impacted us severely. For instance, all of these music festivals that were happening nationwide, they've been canceled, and they were due to happen in April. So we actually had to pause all production on that and only charge kill fees up to the work that we had done. But in terms of the percentages, based on our projections of basically, we had to break this down in Q2 and Q3. And we've lost approximately 80% of our business. And so now, obviously that's a challenging thing to stomach, but the positive part of that is it allows me to take a look at our strategy and kind of diversify the projects that we do.
Thank you for sharing, Grace. And there are a lot of people, and George, you mentioned something about this before, like how do you stay in business? How do you know you increased revenue? So there are a lot of people out there recommending that we take this time to enhance our marketing in a way that's, of course, that is toned to the situation that we are going through now, but also that keeps us, fresh in our prospective clients' mind. And Grace is using her time to do a lot of, I know that she has been working on even her financial stuff. So this is an opportunity to look at operations, marketing, product, and rethink of changes that we might make so that when all this is behind us, we are still where we were before, or maybe in a better position. So for some, that's gonna happen. I know there are clients, people that have implemented an online food ordering system, which they didn't have before, right? So they were just depending on people making phone calls, but now they were forced to set up something online to get deliveries, to provide delivery service that way. So in some cases it might help, and in others, unfortunately, like Jerry mentioned earlier, some businesses won't survive, but that's not going to be us. Everyone here will be fine, right? We're committed to that.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to end. I want to move everyone to, you're going to be moved to random, what did I call it? Breakout sessions. You don't have to stay. You can leave, but I'll leave it open for a few minutes for you guys to connect if you want to. I'll take any other questions. Trisha, you have a question?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank you for sharing this. I mean, there are a lot of us on the call who are in similar situations with our clients trying to advise them. So doing an exercise like this is extraordinary for them to create some visibility. So thank you very much. This is some of the things that I'm doing with my clients. And to answer the gentleman's question, who, in case this person is not represented on the call, there are entire industries that deal with people. Event production. I worked with a $10 million event production company. At one point, they lost all of their revenue. They had to cut their staff from 30 people to 9 people. And really quickly, he pivoted his business to provide some of his services to the pop-up health spots that are happening in New York. So people are trying to be very creative with what they are doing. And so again, Ramona, this is excellent. Any sort of cash flow exercise you can do with your clients, or if you are a client, that you could do right now and negotiate the hell out of everything. Vendors want to keep their clients, so they're going to be open to that situation. The one thing I wanted to highlight in the chat before you break off is that I've also heard from a lot of solopreneurs. There's resources out there for small business owners, and there should be more. But what I have not seen is nothing for solopreneurs and freelancers, and they're really hurting. And the Freelancers Union just released something called the Freelancers Relief Fund for people to donate to it. And then from there, the Freelancers Union is going to is allowing freelancers to apply for $1,000 grants, up to $1,000 grants. So I put a link in the chat if you would like to donate to the Freelancers Union. I'm not part of it. I'm not on the board. I'm not soliciting on their behalf. I literally just saw this on LinkedIn in a feed, and I know solopreneurs and freelancers are really hurting because I get those questions, and there's nothing provided for them right now. So the Freelancers Union is trying to make a space for people to donate to them. So I just added that to the chat in case you get questions of your clients who are solopreneurs and freelancers.
Thank you, Tricia. George and Jerry, Jerry Quinn, I see your hands up. I don't know if this is from before, but if you have a final question, please ask it.
In my case, it's just a quick comment following up on Tricia. So what we are trying to do, and I teach a class at NYU, so it's coming from an academic venue, is we are telling the government that what has been done in other countries is that rather than to give people just cash, in some cases, they give them e-vouchers, which they can use, for example, at a local restaurant or at a dry cleaner and so on. The beauty of doing that is that then people will go and buy goods and services. So we're working on a program like that. And then going back to what Tricia, you were saying, there is another company who has set up a same system, and that's working well, where your clients will donate, right? That they will basically, buy a gift card and so on. And so I think many people will be very supportive, and we can expect to get some help. If you want to help on this idea of having the government issue e-vouchers to help small businesses, please, get in touch with me, and I'll tell you how we can do it.
Thank you. Jerry Quinn, do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to say that leveler.info is another site where people with income can donate small amounts of money to people who are part of the gig economy who don't have income. I also wanted to mention that there's some things going on in the real estate world, I think at the state level, so that people who are tenants, businesses who are tenants, can get mortgage payment deferrals. And of course, the landlords have to meet the rent payment deferrals. And then the landlords, of course, have to pay mortgages on the buildings, and they're getting their payments deferred as well. So it's two levels in the system, so that the system still functions.
Ramona?
Oops, sorry, yes?
Yeah, I have three resources too, really quickly. One is the SBA disaster loan, although it's a loan and not ideal, but it's at 3.75%. It is accessible to sole proprietors. So that would be your independent contractors and your freelancers. They qualify to take out the loan. That's the first thing. And that their portal keeps shutting down because, of course, they're inundated. But they say keep trying. You could try like 4 o'clock in the morning or so forth. But you're going to fill out the form. I think it's 5C. The main form is wait a minute. Yeah, the main form is 5, but sole props are going to fill out 5C. To apply for the loan. You can't ask for a certain amount. You're going to provide documents, and they're going to let you know what they feel that you could handle. That's one thing. Another thing, for those who do have some cash and want to help, Thank You Small Business is a global campaign. It's a global movement where now they're doing virtual concerts and they're selling merchandise in the name of Thank You Small Business, and it's a fundraiser. And then we're going to get that money in the hands of small businesses who need it. So it's Thank You Small Business. FiBrick.com, and you can go there and see how you can contribute and also find out about the concerts. The last thing is my firm is actually facilitating micro loans for freelancers and taxi drivers and those who are just like out of money immediately. We're doing everything we can to bridge the gap between no money and maybe something, from the government. They're in increments of $500, $1,000, and $1,500. All the person has to do is fill out a request form, and I actually get them and go through the process of approving the application and getting them some cash. We're doing it through ACH. So so you're welcome to refer anyone who you know is a freelancer and they need food. We can't afford obviously to pay people's rent. If they need food, immediate necessities, we do have some cash to do that. And that's the organization is called Good Counsel. Typically they offer pro bono legal services to underserved and refugees, but now we're just helping anyone we can.
Thank you, Tuesday.
The organization.
Tuesday, thank you. I'm gonna have to stop you guys, but thank you, Tuesday. And what I'm gonna propose, Tuesday, and everyone else who has a resource, if you send them to me via email, I will include them on the email that I'm gonna send out, and everyone will have the link. So at this time, just please send them to me via email so that we can circulate them with everyone who participated. I'm gonna have to stop, so I'm gonna move you to rooms randomly. You can stay there or leave, but I really appreciate you joining today. I will have a series of webinars in the next few weeks, so over the next few weeks. So please join anytime you see something that you want to learn more about or to share experiences about. And you can, as you can see, it's very engaging, and you are welcome to share everything that you think is helpful to the rest of the attendees. And I look forward to seeing you again. So give me a couple, just 30 seconds to move you into rooms randomly, and then you can hopefully continue the conversation there. Okay?
Ramona, I have to log off. I have to help a client now with an extension. A lot of days extension with payments is a big deal. Yes. I would like to thank everybody for the input and tip that definitely helped me. So it's definitely an hour that was definitely not wasted. Thank you very much for putting this together.
Thank you, JC.
Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.
Bye now.
Just 1 second, okay? Don't leave me.
I'm staying. This is great.
Glad to hear. It's almost there. Hold on. How many? We have 19. I think we have 14. So let's just do 3. We're gonna have 3 rooms. Yes. Let me know later how this worked. Okay. I'd love to hear the feedback.
By all means.
I think you're all in. I don't know if you can hear me, but do you see yourselves in rooms? It's happening now. Hi guys, I guess I stayed in the room. Can you hear me? Sabrina? Oksana and Sabrina, somehow you didn't get moved into a room. Are you still there?